If you've been judging your portraits because they don't look right or pretty, this conversation might change how you see your art. We're going to hop right in. So today I'm using this pastel paper because I want to generate a lot of different studies and I want to go kind of quick. I love having this colored paper. It's a good weight. It's about I think it's about a 90-pound paper. Now this isn't traditional painting paper. It's for pastels, but it's a good weight and I just want to get a lot of different studies done, but I love having these colors to work on, these colored backgrounds. This paper has a really nice tooth because it's been made for pastel, so it's almost like painting on a watercolor paper, even though it's a little lighter than a watercolor paper. So we're going to get started with that. I chose a variety of colors, some tan, some browns, a gray, and I'm just going to tape it right down to my surface paper here, which is, just my regular painting surface that I have, which is old waterproof wallpaper that I have on my table. It just keeps things easy to clean up. Then I'm working with a neutral palette called the Zorn palette. So in the traditional Zorn, we use either vermilion or cadmium red light. We use either the flake white or titanium white, which is the more modern palette would be titanium. We use yellow ochre, and then we either use ivory black, which is traditional, or I'm using Payne's gray, which is a more bluish gray color that is the more modern Zorn. And then I'm just kind of drawing my faces using the proportions rather than a reference on the papers. And then I'm just going to generate a bunch of portrait studies, and I'm going to go quick, and I'm going more for intention rather than gorgeous. I'm trying to get feeling rather than beauty. I don't care if they're not gorgeous. I just want more feeling than I want a beautiful painting. I want something that looks back at me. In other words, I'm looking for things that give me an emotion rather than a beautiful picture. If you're new to drawing portraits, please check out my new portrait drawing course on my channel. I'll link to it in the description box below, or use a photo reference. Please don't feel like you have to just go in blind and just use proportions if you're not comfortable doing so. You'll get there. Just don't beat yourself up and just have fun doing this exercise. Now I'm working on smaller paper because I'm trying to do multiple studies today, but normally I like to work on really big paper and I work on really large canvases. But today, for the purpose of this exercise, I'm working on a variety of small papers. This is going to enable me to do multiple studies and generate a lot of art quickly. Now, I don't want you to in any way give yourself any kind of bad running commentary in your head about what's happening while you're painting. That's why I always say go a little faster, because I don't want you to tell yourself that it looks terrible or it's not coming out right. I mean, every painting goes through a really ugly phase. Look at mine right now. It looks terrible. So just keep pushing yourself, because as it evolves, you're pulling it together. So it comes along, and as you're working, you're pushing it, you're pulling it, and every painting, and this is something that I never was told, most paintings go through a really awkward stage. And so, you can be sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm a failure, but you're not. Every painting goes through a really awkward stage. So when you know this, you can just keep working until you're happy with the final result. And don't feel like you have to show it to anyone until you're ready to share it. And I'm saying this because nothing is worse than having someone's negative comments ruin your confidence when you're still learning. It can really hurt your willingness to try again or, keep you from painting. So you really have to be careful about who you're sharing your work with. At this point, we only want to do the things that are going to keep us motivated to paint more, not less. So any little successes we want to celebrate, and anything that keeps us painting, we want to do more of. So, my motivation is always that painting just makes me really happy, and I love the process, and I love doing it, and obviously I love creating paintings and things, but just the process of making them is what keeps me going most of the time. When we're doing studies like this, we are not aiming for perfection. It doesn't matter if you know how to paint perfectly anatomically, or if you're not being realistic. We're not trying to do any of those things, or perfect proportions, none of those things. We're focusing on the basics here. So what matters here is that you're pushing through to the end and you're trying to get texture and an expression, and we want mark making, and we want to get a finished painting done. And the more you can do, the better your painting's going to become. And so you're going to just keep generating these and try to get an expression and try to get an attitude, and just try to get as many of these done, and you'll be surprised at how much your painting improves. The hardest thing in art sometimes is just beginning. And some people want to paint, or they want to start making art, and they're just so afraid to begin. They're afraid they won't be good enough, or they won't be able to learn, or they'll fail. And most of all, they're afraid they're going to be judged. So we all have those fears, but don't be afraid, because so much joy can come from making art. And I want that for you. Don't let fear of disapproval keep you from creating, because one of the worst things that could happen is that you don't even start. Because you really don't want to start comparing your work to other people's work, or look at master paintings and say, I'll never get there, because every single painter has failed paintings. You're just not going to see those in a gallery, because everyone has studies like this, and every person that you've ever met that's a very successful painter has books and books of sketchbooks and studies and sketches that aren't their best. And not every painting or drawing or sketch that they've ever done is perfect. So there's a lot of practice that goes on behind the scenes. And when you're watching this video, I want you to watch this particular one that I'm doing right now to see how many ugly stages it goes through, because it looks so crazy. It looks like an alien in the beginning. I'm laughing because I know where it's going in the beginning, and I know I'm putting down just blobs of paint where I know the light is going to fall and where the shadows and darks are going to hit the face planes. So I'm just slapping paint on, and it looks like a clown. But I know that I'm going to be able to pull this together later on. And right now, look at it. It looks like a mask. But it's not scaring me in the least little bit, because I've done it so many times. And that's where I want you to be able to get. Because I'm just throwing the paint on right now, because I know from doing so many of these that I know where all the light is going to hit. Even without a reference, I know this. And that's just because I've done it so many times. And so the more you practice, you'll be able to do the same thing. It's going to look so crazy for such a long time during this video that I just want to show you, because I want you to see like how crazy it can look, and then you can pull it back, and at the end it looks like a picture of a person, you know. It looks so crazy when I'm doing it, but then by the end it comes back together and it looks like a person. So don't be afraid, keep practicing, and the more you do it, the easier it actually becomes. There's a huge amount of uncertainty, mistakes, some failures. They're all part of the process of learning, and they're not really the opposite of success, but they're all the part of the path to learning how to paint. And so don't fear it. Just keep working through, keep going, and just keep your eye on the prize and just keep working. Part of the reason I really like acrylic and gouache is because you can layer. And both of them dry quickly, and they're both water-based. It's harder to do this kind of work in oil. Just because it takes a long time to dry, it smudges, it's not easy to layer it up quickly. But acrylic and gouache can be layered really easily, and you can just keep working rather quickly. So that's why I like it when you're first learning, especially. And so that's what I'm doing here. And as I'm working around the painting, other places are drying, and I can go back and start to fix areas that need attention. The more work you do like this, and the more of these quick expressive studies you do like this, the more your own style will emerge. And that's the other thing that happens when you push yourself to go just a little bit faster. Then you're comfortable working. And the reason that is because you will be forced to revert to your own particular form of mark making. Your own style will begin to emerge. And that is just something that happens naturally. And the more you work this way, the more it will begin to evolve and come out on its own naturally. It starts to emerge when you start to really understand how to mix your paints and how the rhythm of working this way and what happens when you push yourself just a little bit, and how you lay the paint down on the paper, especially under pressure. So if you give yourself just a little bit of pressure, how you put the paint down on the paper will emerge. How you use your brush strokes will emerge. How you blend your colors, all those things will all start to come together, and your style will start to evolve that way. And art doesn't always have to be beautiful. It can be expressive. It could be emotional. When I start to see the painting looking back at me and I see an expression or an emotion, that's successful to me. It doesn't always have to be a beautiful piece of art or a pretty piece of art. I just want to see an expression that gives an emotion looking back at me. Now, right now I messed her lips up. I don't care. I'm just like playing with it. So I just keep, I fuss with it a little bit, and then I go to something else. And, I just kind of go back and forth until I'm happy with what things look like. And then if it's not perfect, I'm okay with that. Even in a little study like this, if I feel like it makes you feel something, it's a success to me. So I accidentally forgot to run the video when I was painting this last one, and I just really loved this last one. It was done in just the Payne's gray and white and a variety of gray tones. and it still ended up being very expressive. I really loved it, and I just wanted to share it with you, even though I, kind of messed up and didn't run the video. I guess what I wanted to really say is that if your paintings make you feel something, it can be happy, sad, anything, then you know you're on the right track. It doesn't always have to be a joyful feeling. It could be kind of a sad, introspective feeling. It could be anything. But you want your paintings to give a feeling of emotion. And that's all we're after here. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be beautiful. And then sometimes at the very end, I might want to go back in and play, or I might want to, maybe I'll go in with a little pencil, or I'll touch something up. I mean, I don't always do that, especially with studies. I'll sometimes just pack them away, or, I'm not going to sell any of these. These are just for me. These are my own, I'm learning as I'm going. And you never stop learning and growing as an artist. Hopefully you don't. You don't want to get to a place where you feel comfortable and you're just not going to expand or grow or learn anymore. No matter how long you've done art, you always want to continue to learn and grow. That's one of the things I think I love the most about it, is that you just, no matter how long you've done it, you're going to be able to just keep growing and learning and continuing to expand your practice. So as long as I've been painting, I just keep trying to learn more. And that process never ends. So stop thinking everything needs to be perfect and start thinking instead that we're creating things with emotion and soul. Start creating with freedom. Freedom from the judgment of others and from the voices inside your own head that tell you you're not good enough. Stop fearing your mistakes. Just own them. Do it like you meant it. If you make a mistake, embrace it. All of these portraits are far from perfect, but they all have emotion. They're important to me because I'm able to express myself this way. There's no wrong way to make art. The only wrong way is to not try or to not make art at all.